NFLSU, led by the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Joe Burrow, who went number 1 overall to the Cincinnati Bengals. LSU set a school record for the most first-round draft picks in school history, with 5 going on Thursday night during the opening round of the NFL Draft. Burrow was joined in the first round by linebacker K'Lavon Chaisson, who went 20th overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson, 2 picks later, went to the Minnesota Vikings. Linebacker Patrick Queen fell to number 28 to the Baltimore Ravens. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Baton Rouge native, number 32 overall. Here's Joe Burrow talking about what he thinks of getting into Cincinnati. This is Burrow 4, talking about getting into Cincinnati as the quarterback.
I think it's leadership. I've always been really, really good at bringing everybody together to form a common goal. And, I think my work ethic kind of permeates throughout the team. And I'm excited to get around all the guys and everybody within that building.
Here's a phone call with Burrow and Zach Taylor talking about what lies ahead for the rookie quarterback.
Well, Joe, now it's official, man. What's going on through your head?
Ready to get to practice. Tired of all the talking. Ready to start working out again.
Well, listen, no matter what this offseason look like, virtual or not, we're not going to make any excuses. We're going to make sure that we put in the work, find a way to get stuff done, and be ready to hit the ground running when the season does start.
Yep, hopefully that can be sooner rather than later.
No question.
I loved everything he said after he got drafted because it's truthful. He's ready to get to work. And I was listening to radio coming in this morning, and Mike Tannenbaum was talking about, well, they might play Andy Dalton because I don't know if Joe Burrow is going to be ready. Let me tell you something. If anybody can handle this situation and not being able to go to the facility, it's this young man. He is going to dive as deep as you can into Cincinnati's playbook, and he is going to be ready to play. Now, if they do it, that's on them, but he is going to be ready. I can promise you that.
Burrow went number 1 to Cincinnati. 19 picks later, K'Lavon Chaisson came off the board at 20 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's K'Lavon reacting to being a first-round selection.
Speaking of his story off the field, well, on the field at LSU, he wore the number 18 jersey. That's a tradition that goes back to 2003 when Matt Mock led the Tigers to their first national title since 1958. And that became synonymous with a player on and off the field there with a selfless attitude and doing a lot of things right. So they don't hand that out to everybody, and Ashland Sullivan's with us now. This guy does have a good track record off the field, and I'm curious to see what the fans think about this one tonight, too.
Yeah, absolutely. We go back to when we talked to Doug Marrone a couple weeks ago, and he said he preached the importance of bringing non-drama into this locker room. That's exactly what this seems with this pick.
Hey, can you cut that up and send it to Jordy so he has that just on a loop, please? Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Hey, I told you, 18 this year, K'Lavon was a key addition to the number.
Did we finally win you over?
You got me.
Okay.
First-round pick. 15 players from the SEC heard their names called in the first round Thursday night, a record in the common draft era. That's since 1967. That surpassed the previous record of 12 first-round picks from a single conference, achieved 3 times by the ACC and the SEC twice. LSU and Alabama had 9 combined first-rounders, were by far the most of any 2 schools from the same conference in the common draft era. 6 of the top 10 picks in Thursday's first round were from the SEC, including the number 1 overall selection in Joe Burrow. One more, the 32nd pick, went to the Kansas City Chiefs, who just won the Super Bowl. They selected Baton Rouge native and LSU standout Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Here's General Manager Brett Veach talking about what attracted him to LSU's running back.
We had really closely rated right there from 24 to 32, and they were all kind of going one after the other. And but we knew that if Clyde was still available at 32, what he can do in this offense would be special. Having him under contract right now for 5 years would be special. So again, always looking how we can get better this year and into the future, and kind of stuck with that plan.
The New Orleans Saints?
Real quick, I don't mean to cut you off there, but we said this year's draft was going to be off the tape. It wasn't going to be maybe this guy can do this. And they went back and they watched the running backs and they saw what he was able to do every single down, right? Everybody says, well, he ran a 4.6. Who cares? And he talked about that as well. The GM said, I don't care what the 40 is. I saw lateral quickness and I saw vision that nobody else in this draft had.
I mean, say out loud the weapons now that Kansas City has around Mahomes. I mean, when you're talking about Kelsey, Hill, Watkins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I mean, just the speed. Hardeman, there is speed everywhere against, right next to the best quarterback in the league. Kansas City got a lot better last night, and they won the Super Bowl 2 months ago. The New Orleans Saints have selected Michigan center Cesar Ruiz in the first round at number 24 in the 2020 NFL Draft. The 6'3", 307-pounder from New Jersey was a third-team All-Big Ten pick as a sophomore and a second-team All-Conference selection in 2019, starting all 19 games. Head coach Sean Payton jumped on WWL after last night's game and talked about the flexibility of Cesar.
Yeah, look, one of the areas we wanted to improve in this draft was an interior offensive lineman, and those are hard players to find later in the draft. We had a real high grade on Cesar. He was a guy that I would say we had a lot of information on. He was extremely, extremely productive, tough player at Michigan, played with great balance. We feel like he's got guard flex, and we also feel like
I think he was going into the thought on McCoy is also a person that they can flex out to a guard. Here he is finishing that thought.
The obvious question would be, hey, he's a center. You had a center last year. Obviously, we think one of them is going to be a guard because we weren't drafting someone that high to come in and be a backup.
It's a pick that makes you scratch your head a little bit, and it's not because of the player. He's a good player. He's a really good player. But who was left on the board, that's what makes it a little surprising. Andrews Pete just got a lot of money. Larry Warford's still on this roster, right? And Nick Easton came in last year, and when he came in, you didn't notice because he just went and did his job. And so for me, this wasn't a glaring need. And this is a team that could, if they wanted to, take best player available. But at that position, that's what makes me scratch my head. And then you're talking about moving people. I don't like moving people. I don't even like moving from right tackle to left tackle. The center position is a center position. There's a reason why few people can do it. And then you're just going to kick them to guard. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And again, I think he's a really good football player. But you had a lot of value left on the board. And we talked about it last night during the show. And you were on as well. Like, there was everything they wanted was still in front of them.
It was confusing in the sense of you thought that there was an area of need that they wanted to go at and attack more immediate because they feel like they're in win-now mode, especially with Breeze and the quarterback and where his situation is. But this goes into in protecting Breeze immediately. It sounded like Peyton talked about that Ruiz could step in and play. Here's my deal. It was a head-scratching pick when they made it, but I'm not going to go against Loomis and Ireland at this point over the success that they've had over the last couple of years. They know this rostered. Warford is in a free agent year. He's in a contract year. I think that after this season, his contract runs up. So I think
and it's a salary cap move as well. But the Saints, again, win now. They could have got an impact defensive player that could help them tomorrow.
Yeah. Patrick Queen, who went 28th,
like him,
to Baltimore. Yeah, and he was on the board. He was on the board. Here was he talking. He was talking about to the Ravens about what New Orleans missed out on. Queen last night talking on ESPN.
Y'all gonna get the most energetic player from this draft, the most passionate, the most dominant, the most studious person that y'all gonna get out this draft. I bring a lot to the table. Not just one player. I got a lot of things that I got a lot of tools come with me.
Congratulations from Michael Phelps to Patrick Queen on Twitter last night, who's a big Baltimore Ravens fan. Lots more to get to on the NFL draft. 6 cornerbacks come off the board last night in the first 32 picks, and not one of them is Christian Fulton. That may be the most head-scratching from a local story of anything after last night.
Damon Arnett is a guy that I knew a little bit about. We've been doing draft shows on SiriusXM for probably 5 weeks now, and we've talked about every single player that you can imagine. His name never came up one time, like not one time. And Gladney from TCU, not one time. And then a safety doesn't even go in the first round. So the DB portion of the draft, it was very confusing for me.
It felt like Al Davis was running Vegas' draft last night.
Oh,
I mean, like, what were they doing?
Both their picks.
Both of them.
their picks. I'm sitting there thinking, and right before it, I said, "Oh, look, they're different. John Gruden and Mike Mayock, they're different." The hell with that. They're the same team.